Mouth breather. I think of all of the things that annoy me about the entire coronavirus nonsense that we've been stuck in for over half a year, close to 3/4 of a year at this point, and close to a full year if you count the very beginnings of it. Of all the things that are making my life difficult, the one that I think burns my toastest the mostest is the constant barrage of incredibly patronizing, nagging, self-righteous, whiny signs that you see in every public place, just constantly, one after another, just everywhere you go. It's just over and over and over again. You're being hammered with this message of, you must do these XYZ things, or else you'll be in so much danger, and you'll be a threat to yourself and a threat to others, and oh my God, you're in such danger. Run away. It's a really sickening and insidious thing, because there's there's a concept that I have in my life, and I've struggled with depression for many years, and had to deal with the constant sense of futility that it's just not worth bothering to make an effort no matter what I do, and having to push my way past that irrational, inaccurate feeling and go out and actually make some minimal degree of an effort and try to actually fix the problems that I'm having. It's hard to do that. I fully understand, and I have a minimum degree of sympathy for people who feel like they are unable to do anything. I'll indulge them up to a point. But what I have learned through my life's experience is that sometimes there just is no substitute for buckling down and getting things done. If you are having this irrational fear that is paralyzing you, it's not going to go away, and the more you indulge it, the stronger it's going to be, and it's going to exert this ridiculously disproportionate hold over you. Your anxiety can feed on itself and be a self-perpetuating cycle that just paralyzes you with terror and weakness and fragility, and you'll never accomplish anything as long as you keep giving in to that. The concept that I have come up with to explain all of this to myself is, I call it playing loser game. The idea is that, for lack of a better term, there are winners and losers in life, and the winners are the people who have invented a game and then convinced everyone who isn't one of them to play that game, and it's a game that's designed in such a way that you can't actually win it. The minute you sit down to play, the minute you agree to the rules, which are stacked against you, you have guaranteed that you will lose that game, because that's the entire purpose that the game was designed to do. And the only way to win is not to play, and the winners will do anything to try and trick you into thinking that the game is not rigged, and that you can and should and must play it. And the way that they achieve their victory is by convincing you to accept their rules. So some of the concepts that appear to be virtues in life, and I want to be careful here because I do believe in some of the actual virtues. There are some which I think have been proven to stand the test of time through my own experience, but a lot of the concepts that are indoctrinated into people who are taught to believe that these are good things, they're actually part of the programming. They're part of what's designed to trick you into playing the loser game. And a better way probably to express this, the way that I failed to remember until just now, but this is where the conversation originally started when I was rehearsing it on my way home from a job interview today. A better way to put it is, if you volunteer to be exploited, then there are sectors of society that are very happy to exploit you, and they don't think that they're being evil because they think that they're giving you what you want, and you are signaling to them that you want to be abused to a mild degree by portraying yourself in a way that makes it clear that you have kind of a low opinion of yourself, and you don't think that you deserve any better, and so society is like, well, we'll give you what you want then. So if you allow yourself to believe that you're surrounded by danger and that you can't possibly protect yourself, then you are opening yourself up to having all manner of control freak authority figures hover over you and kind of keep you prisoner and exploit you for their own benefit, so that they can feel big and powerful by doing things on your behalf. And there's all sorts of mechanisms that play into this. It's a big thing with children who don't want to grow up, and it's a big thing with women who have been taught their whole lives that they're supposed to have a lot of feminist women have been taught that the state owes them protection just because they're women, and a lot of traditionalist conservative women have been taught that their husband owes them protection just because they're wives. And in either case, by choosing to believe this, Jordan Peterson does a better job of explaining the concept, but by choosing to accept this sort of patriarchal bargain, whether it's on behalf of an actual patriarchy or whether it's on behalf of a largely feminist-run state, the upshot is the same. It leads to the disempowerment of the individual, and because she doesn't feel strong or capable, she has all sorts of neurotic worries about what if the thing that's protecting me goes away. If my husband is responsible for everything, then I can't afford to piss him off. And if the state is responsible for everything, then I can't afford to do anything treasonous or seditious. I have to just not rock the boat. And that kind of attitude, that kind of we dare not step out of line, is exactly what is an enabling force for all sorts of despotic regimes and corrupt politicians and all manner of exploitative, abusive people who are not evil. I want to be clear on that. They are people who have made a bad choice. They are people who I think I've mentioned this example before. I'm all over the place today. This is going to tie together like 8 of my core concepts. This whole rant. I hope it will. I'm doing my best to make it make sense. I may have mentioned before the idea of the Indian caste system. Now, a very quick layman's explanation. I am not from India and I have not studied it in depth, although I hope to someday, if I ever have enough leisure time in my life, to dig into this subject, which I find very interesting. But from my understanding, which I apologize to all of the people of India if I have mischaracterized them, but this is just from what I've been able to gather from various history books and whatnot. The idea was that there was this caste system of the people in India were divided up into all sorts of social layers, and at the top there was a priestly caste called the Brahmins, and at the bottom there was the so-called unclean caste, who were people that tended to have the very dirty, disgusting jobs. They would clean up trash, they would handle animal dung, they would take care of corpses, and besides the religious aspects, which I'm not going to touch on here, and they're certainly part of the BS that culture had going for it thousands of years ago. No culture from that long ago was very particularly nice, so this is not throwing shade at India specifically. I'm just talking about this particular social system. Besides the religious aspects, there was also a thing where the people who had the unclean caste obviously were exposed to a lot of potential pathogens, and if they didn't have good immune systems, then they probably died. And so through evolutionary forces over fairly quick periods of time, people who were bred of the unclean caste and whose ancestors had been unclean for a long time and were born into that caste system, they would have good, strong immune systems, and they would not be at risk of getting sick, but they could potentially carry diseases, and without fully understanding the microbiology of it, I think there was a sense in the upper class of society that being around an unclean caste person was unhealthy and dangerous, and so all sorts of fairly disgusting social systems developed where the members of the unclean caste would be shunned by their quote-unquote betters. And so people who have chosen to live in an ivory tower are not evil, but they are unwise. They have made a foolish decision to withdraw from the arenas of conflict that are the crucible in which society breeds strength. They have chosen to be weak instead. They have chosen to hide from their problems and not confront them. And so they are, even though they are members of the kind of winner's caste, they are in their own weird way playing a loser game. They are choosing not to have faith in themselves. They are choosing to back away from a conflict that they could have won, and they are making someone else responsible for their own protection. And when you do that, it is, I believe it is a fundamental human thing that when you abdicate responsibility for your own position in the world, it's going to prey on your mind in a very destructive way. You're going to constantly be worried about, because you are not personally responsible for your strength, you are going to feel very vulnerable and be constantly afraid of having your protection taken away. And so I ultimately believe that it is a better idea to take the personal responsibility for maintaining your own strength. And in some cases, the way that you do that, if you don't actually feel strong, but you want to not advertise weakness in a way that's going to draw predators to you, then sometimes the only rule that really makes sense is the old saw about fake it until you make it. That actually does, in some cases, work. I don't want to recommend it 100% of the time, because certainly it's an idea that's very easily used to empower a con man, so it's not something that you should believe uncritically. But in some cases, it does work. If you project strength, and it's very important that it's not a hollow facade of strength. You can't just be arrogant and cocky. Instead of assuming that you will succeed, what you want to do is believe that you have the capability to succeed. There's always going to be a random factor that might come along and screw you over. There's not much that can be done about that. But it isn't helpful to sit around worrying about what if. So sometimes what you have to do is have confidence in your own strength, project that sense of confidence, and not encourage others to have false faith in you, but encourage others to believe in you to the extent that you can actually responsibly portray yourself as being competent. Because if you do that, and if you do that in the right way, which is admittedly not even as easy as I've said, and I've said it in a way that makes it clear, it is quite a complex balancing act. So, nobody ever said this was easy, but if you can strike the right balance, and there's really no substitute for experience in figuring out how to do that, then you are in the best position to trust in your own strength and feel like you are actually safe even when you are confronting danger, as opposed to the reality that coronavirus has instilled in us, which is to make us all think that we're in danger even though for the most part we're safe. Most people have a pretty good immune system, but the way that we're behaving to try and stop the spread of this supposedly awful disease that has a 99% survival rate, the way that we're behaving is to act as though we're in danger even when we're mostly safe, and it's direct. I am firmly convinced that it is directly undermining our strength. It is the absolute worst parts of playing loser game. It is broadcasting to the entire world that you are weak and fragile and stupid and helpless, and please someone come take advantage of you. Like, you know, people who don't think that they're monsters or predators will see you asking to please come exploit you, and they'll think that they're doing you a favor by doing that. One last example to try and get this point across is provided by the very sloppy late winter weather that we're having here in Minnesota in late February. It's been snowing for the past couple of days, but it has warmed up enough that the snow is already melting on the ground, and especially in the streets, when you're crossing the streets, and pretty much the entirety of downtown, they're furiously sprinkling salt to try and correct this, but in any area where the salt hasn't been sprinkled or where it's kind of brushed away, the streets are incredibly slippery, and it's very easy to feel your feet going out from under you and get the sense that you are completely unsafe trying to walk on these slippery streets. And the logic that the government is placing upon you, saying that you are supposed to react to this coronavirus threat by constantly sanitizing everything and never going without a mask for even a second, and just constantly writhing in anguish at this supposed threat. They are basically telling you that the ground is so slippery you dare not try to walk at all. And if you're going to walk, then make sure that you have a safety harness. That would be the mask. And not only are you in danger, but if you take one step, then you might slide and collide with someone else and knock them down too. So even if you're 20 feet away from everybody else, you still owe it to them to not take any chances. Don't take a single step without your safety harness. And it's just ridiculous. It's teaching people to be victims. It's teaching them to take no personal responsibility and to not have any sense of confidence in themselves. And I hate it. I hate it so much. It is a ridiculous way of turning people into helpless children so that the state can exploit them for its own benefit. And these days, the state is more and more not even an organization run by people. It is an organization increasingly run on autopilot with rules and systems and laws and automated machinery set into place to do more and more of the work on behalf of the people who are taking credit, so that they can spend all of their time planning the next tropical vacation that they're going to get with all the money they're earning. And it's just ridiculous. We cannot allow our civilization to be stolen away from us by this gross incompetence that people are just succumbing to because it's easier. So people need to be courageous and powerful and confident in their own strength and willing to step up and take responsibility and do the work themselves and not succumb to that slow slide into depression, which I know from personal experience is all too easy to succumb to. Sometimes the only solution is to just push past the difficulty and do what needs to be done, and once you actually succeed in doing it, you'll feel a sense of accomplishment that will make it easier the next time. And hopefully by the time you start to actually fail every once in a while, you will have built up enough confidence from having succeeded a bunch of times and only failed a few times that you will be able to survive that setback. That is the way that you become strong and successful in life, or at least give yourself the best possible chance. Like I said, sometimes random chance will just screw you over. Nothing you can do about it, but it does not help to sit there and marinate in your own worry. So just cut it out.